Hello and welcome to this edition of TLB TV. I'm Liam Beatis.
And I'm Megan Smedley, and we've got some big news for you. Mark Turgeon announced Monday that junior guard Jalen Brantley is transferring. Brantley spent the past 2 seasons with the Terps after transferring from Odessa Community College in Texas. Brantley will be a graduate transfer and is looking for a program that will give him more playing time.
Now we bring in Justin Meyer, our men's basketball beat reporter, and let's jump right into it. Jalen Brantley jump ship. How shocked were you to see him transfer from this program?
Well, definitely more surprised than I was to see Micah Thomas transfer, but when you look at the press release and see what he said he wants to get a master's degree in sports management, and he said that he wants more playing time for his senior year and last season of college eligibility. It makes sense. He's going to have to compete. He would have had to have competed with Cowan, Herder, Wiley, Nickens, Morsell, all these guys for minutes. Might be easier for him as a senior to get his time at another university.
Now, an even bigger change to the program, Melo Trimble declares for the NBA draft, hires an agent, so he cannot come back. What is his legacy here at the University of Maryland?
I think it'll be looked at pretty fondly. Before he came here, the team was 17-15, had 5 players transfer out the summer before his freshman year. A lot of uncertainty, swirling around the program at that time. Ever since he's been there, the team's been back in the tournament, finished at least tied for the top 2 in the Big Ten. It's not only him who's done that, but he's been a huge impact in turning this program around.
So for this team, no more Trimble or Brantley, DeMonte Dodd and LG Gill are graduating. Who can we expect next season to step up and take over that leadership role?
Well, Michael Tchaikovsky will be starting, presumably, and he'll be a senior, so him. But also you'll have guys like Cowan, Herder, and Jackson, who had such big roles in this year's team, back again. They'll still be underclassmen, they'll still all be sophomores, but I think that the experience that they had of all of them starting for nearly a full season, Jackson didn't start every game, will help going forward and bring some experience like that.
Well, thanks, Justin. You've heard what our analyst has to say. Now let's hear what the fans have to say about Melo Trimble leaving the program.
What are you going to miss most about Melo Trimble?
I think his hair. I'm going to miss his hair the most.
Going to miss his hair. Great head of hair.
Is everything an okay answer?
His confidence on the court, and just because he's an absolute beast.
What are you going to miss most about Melo Trimble?
Who?
He has a dog that he walks a lot around the view. Definitely going to miss seeing him doing that.
The fact I know who he is. Yeah, I know his name.
I'm really going to miss those awesome layups he used to make. Just taking the foul, making the shot all the time.
What are you going to miss most about Jalen Brantley?
His hair, most definitely.
Probably his dance moves.
Probably just how enthusiastic he was about the sport and how well he connected with his fans.
Melo Trimble and Jalen Brantley will definitely be missed in College Park. The women's basketball team is set to begin a new era. Brianna Jones and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough will graduate in May. That's what Coach Brenda Frese already knew. Some tough news for her last week. Freshman sensation Destiny Slocum announced on Twitter that she is transferring. Sophomore Kaya Gillespie and freshman Jana Stady will leave the program as well. We're now joined by Connor Newcomb to break down all of these exits. So Connor, what is the team going to miss most next year?
Obviously the team's going to miss Destiny Slocum the most. Their freshman phenom point guard led the offense this year, was able to score, was able to pass the ball. But other than that, Kaya Gillespie and Jana Stady also gone, transferring from the team. They'll lose some depth in that sense with those 2 post players for the Terps. So I think they'll really miss all 3 players just in a depth sense, but obviously Slocum is the biggest loss offensively.
So now that these 3 players are leaving the Maryland program, is there any update on where they could be playing basketball for their future?
Yeah, so Destiny Slocum just said it wasn't the right fit for her here at Maryland, but according to her and her family, she said she could play anywhere west of the Mississippi. Obviously, a lot of teams will be looking at her because she was one of the best freshmen in the country this season. For Kaya Gillespie, she's been contacted by 22 different schools up and down the coast, especially the East Coast because she is from Connecticut, some of the biggest schools being Washington out on the West Coast, but then a little closer, Florida State, and a couple ACC teams like Virginia and Virginia Tech, but 22 schools, so she has a lot of choices. Jana Stady, haven't heard anything about her where she's been contacted, but she, as a freshman, was a big recruit and should be able to go to another big program.
And with all of these key players leaving the program, what's the team going to look like next year?
Yeah, so next season you return 2 starters in Kyla Charles at point guard and then Kristen Confoy is one of the guards. But other than that, there's going to be a lot of turnover in the lineup. Stephanie Jones, the younger sister of Brianna Jones, could get a lot of playing time, as well as Brianna Frazier down low. And then Elena Kristinaki, the transfer from Florida, could win a starting spot. She had a great 2 seasons with the Gators before transferring. And also, there's 2 red shirts from last year, Asia Ellison and Kira Leslie, who will be coming back from that red shirt season that could make an impact for the Terps.
Thanks, Connor. You can follow Connor on Twitter for all of his latest updates on Maryland women's hoops. 3 acclaimed Maryland sports figures will be inducted into the DC Hall of Fame this summer. Former men's basketball star Juan Dixon and Tom McMillan, as well as Brenda Fries, will be honored before a Nationals game on July 9th. Gold medal Olympian Katie Ledecky, ESPN's Tony Kornheiser, and former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue were others named in the 2017 class.
The Maryland football team has a new face in town. Max Marcilla talked to QB transfer and potential starter Caleb Henderson.
2 years ago, Caleb Henderson wore the Carolina blue of the Tar Heels. Now, the transfer is competing to become the Terps starting quarterback this fall.
You know, I loved UNC. I needed to come here for my family. It was a better opportunity to play. I know Coach Bell from UNC, so it just made everything a little bit easier.
So far, it's been a smooth transition for Henderson.
I think it's awesome. I've made a lot of great friends here. I knew Avery Edwards from before at UNC, so I had that connection there. I mean, I had the Coach Bell connection. But again, like you said, it's awesome being 40 minutes. I mean, I live right over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge.
This is Henderson's chance to prove he's ready to lead a team, an opportunity he never got at North Carolina.
At UNC, like I said, my first year when I got there, I had Marquise Williams. So I had him in front of me. Then I had Mitch Trubisky in front of me, who's about to be the #1 quarterback taken.
Those 2 quarterbacks set a precedent for Henderson.
Marquise Williams, like I said, is a tremendous football player. Mitch is a tremendous football player. I thought that was the standard. And I was like, wow, like I'm not there. And saying that as a true freshman, that kind of knocks your confidence. But learning from them and growing in the offense definitely does give you confidence.
The junior quarterback made sure to use his time at UNC as a learning experience.
I learned a ton. I learned a great work ethic from Mitch. He's probably one of the hardest working kids I've ever been around.
Now Henderson has head coach DJ Durkin excited about his new potential starter.
He can really run the ball as well as throw. He's got a strong arm, and he's a big, thick body who runs really well. He's a good athlete.
Henderson and the rest of the Terps will play their annual spring game on April 22nd. For the Left Bench TV, I'm Max Marcilla.
Earlier this week, Caleb Henderson and company hit the practice field to begin preparation for the 2017 season. Coach Durkin is glad to have his team back out on the field.
I just like the mentality we have in that room right now with those guys. I mean, it's just like at running back or linebacker or wherever else, those guys they're competing, they're supporting each other, but they're going after it pretty hard out there.
Maryland baseball dropped its first 3-game series since late February this weekend. The team fell out of the rankings after losing twice to Nebraska. Despite losing the rubber batch, Marty Costas was a bright spot for the Terps, hitting his team-leading 7th home run on Sunday. The Terps will welcome West Virginia on Tuesday and will travel to George Mason on Wednesday.
After a rainout on Friday, the Maryland softball team lost a doubleheader on Saturday to Northwestern. However, the Terps would take the final game of the series 5-4, thanks to a 5-run second inning. Maryland returns home this weekend to play a 3-game series against Michigan.
March was a tough month for the men's lacrosse team, but April has shown much better results. On Saturday, the Terps had their most impressive victory of the season, a 15-11 win against #1 Penn State. Matt Rambo and Connor Kelly led the way with 4 goals apiece. John Tillman's #3 ranked team will travel to New York to play Albany on Wednesday. And now TLB TV brings in Johnny Mosman, our men's lax expert. Johnny, why was March so difficult for this team?
Early on in the season, John Tillman was really struggling to find a lineup for his second midfield unit. He had the first midfield unit set with Tim Rotans, Connor Kelly, and freshman star Jared Bernhardt, but he had a lot of question marks on the second midfield unit, and that's a really hard thing to do when a team that relies so heavily on their attack unit.
And the team avenged last season's loss in the NCAA Finals to UNC. How did that spark this team?
Well, Maryland, ever since that national championship loss, they've had this season's game against North Carolina circled on their schedule, and they knew what they were going to get with North Carolina. North Carolina knew what they were going to get with Maryland. And to stop North Carolina, they had to stop senior attackman Chris Cloutier, who was the hero of last season's game. He was the one that scored the goal in overtime to beat them. And this season down in Chapel Hill, they did shut down Chris Cloutier. They held him to 1 goal that game, and that was why Maryland was able to come out victorious in that game.
And now in this 3-game win streak, they've managed to score 15 goals apiece in each game. What do they have to do to keep that offense going?
They have to stay consistent. Just like John Tillman said, they need 60 minutes of good, consistent lacrosse, and they've seen that in their past 2 games. They've been playing their best lacrosse, and the midfielders have really stepped up. They've been Connor Kelly has 9 goals in his past 3 games, and Jared Bernhardt has a goal in every single one of his games this season, and that really helps from a team that was relying so heavily on Dylan Maltz, Matt Rambo, and Colin Heacock early on in the season.
Thanks, Johnny, for coming on. You can keep up with all of Johnny's coverage over at theleftbench.com. At 13-0, the Maryland women's lacrosse team continues its dominance. The team's last home win came against Michigan, in a game where the action on the turf took a back seat to the action off the turf. It was the 3rd annual diabetes awareness game for Kathy Reese and her team, an important cause for her as her son Riley has type 1 diabetes. As part of the event, the team wore blue warm-up jerseys and auctioned off items such as lacrosse sticks. All proceeds went to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation to raise money to support research.
In our last show, we told you about Jocelyn Brocado, a rising star for the Terps Boxing Club. In March, Jocelyn won the United States Intercollegiate Boxing Association National Championship for the 119-pound weight class.
That's great news for Jocelyn. The Maryland tennis team fell to number 8 Michigan on Sunday. Alec Perez has the recap.
Hey guys, we're out here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon for another great day of Maryland's women's tennis here at the Maryland Tennis Center. Maryland's team is ready to rock and roll against Michigan. Let's get going. Here's some highlights. The 44th ranked Terps look to take on number 8 Michigan in a grueling Big Ten matchup. The Terps started off strong, clinching the doubles point for the 15th time this season. Ekaterina Tor and Caroline Williams won in the 2nd position, working well together throughout the whole set. Arnell Sullivan and Cassandra Thibault won at 3rd singles to bring home the doubles point for the Lady Terps. Michigan then took control when singles play started, winning by a score of 4-0. Top performers include 21st ranked Kate Fahey defeating Alexandra Stanova by a score of 6-3, and 22nd ranked Brienne Miner defeating Ekaterina Tor 6-1 in the 3rd set. Terps may have lost, but played very well against a very high-ranked opponent.
I think first starting off with doubles, I think we did a really good job with closing that out and just making sure we were on top, not making sure that they came back when we were up, so that was really good. And I think in singles overall, even though obviously we didn't win, I think we all fought really hard, and I'm looking forward to next week because I think that from this we learned a lot of lessons and we can pull it out.
I think we all believed that we're going to. It came down to a couple of mistakes here and there, but we were there with number 8 team in the country, and I think the team can believe right now that we can fight against people like that.
The Terps lost a tough one today against Michigan, but they played their hearts out, and there's a lot of good takeaways from today's match. They look to beat Rutgers on Saturday, and then 2 games after that, right before the Big Ten Championship. Women continue to look for a strong season here on out. For the Left Bench TV, I'm Alec Perez.
Track and field dominated this weekend in their meet at UVA. Maryland's Claudia Ababio finished 1st in women's discus and set a new school record with a 55.08-meter throw. Maryland also earned 10 other first-place finishes in their meet.
To close out the show, we welcome back Juan Herrera to bring us one final thought. Take it away, Juan.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back on the show. I'd like to take a moment to focus on a pair of former Terps who are taking the MLS by storm. Former Maryland defender Alex Crognali and goalkeeper Zach Steffen have helped make the Columbus Crew the team to beat in the MLS Eastern Conference. Crognali, in his first season with the Crew, has already established himself as one of the most technical and aggressive defenders on the team. And Steffen, who's in his 2nd season, has emerged as one of the best young goalkeepers in the league. So if you're a fan of the Terps and are looking for a team to root for, the Crew might be the team for you.
Well, thank you very much, Juan. If that means rooting for former Terps, I might just have to give the Crew a shot.
I don't know. Right down the road, though, at DC United, Chris Aduyatsam is on the team. He's playing pretty local.
Very true. Well, that'll do it for this episode of TLB TV. I'm Megan Smedley.
And I'm Liam Beatus. Thanks for watching. Make sure to keep up with all of our coverage on Facebook and Twitter at The Left Bench. Happy Passover and happy Easter. Enjoy the matzah and the chocolates.